Hey folks, it's Ardwulf. Welcome. We have an unboxing today of an older game from 2017 that has been highly recommended to me by somebody whose tastes I align with very closely. This is The Fall of the Third Reich from legendary designer Ted Racer and published by Compass Games. Now this is, as of this filming, on the low stock list over at Compass. So they don't have many left. So if you're watching this soon, get it now because it is, and you're interested in this. So what this is it's World War II in Europe, but it starts in 1943. So it's the Axis on the back foot type of scenario. Let's open her up and take a look at what we get. Now this is 5 years old at this point, close to 5 years old at this point. Designed by Ted Racer, developed by Paul Shackleton, graphics by Francois Vandermeulen and Michael Monfront, whose names I am probably mispronouncing. We're in the 2-inch Compass Games box, pretty standard wargame hobby industry box. This is one of the kind of thicker ones, though. We get 2 six-sided dice, black and white. Don't know much about the system, but I trust Ted as a designer, and I trust my friend's recommendation. Here is an errata sheet. Looks like there is some clarifications on the counters. I hate counter errata, let me tell you. These are just clarifications and not actual mistakes, however. There is map errata, which is almost as irritating. But I think it's easier to deal with map errata than counter errata. All right, so we have a rule book. It is matte finish. Feels like 36 pages, full color. Pretty decent looking layout. The print is not super small, not super large, about average. Looks like we're getting pretty good use of color here. A lot of illustrations. I want to get a sense of how detailed this is here. So it looks like, though, we have 22 or so pages of rules, and then a couple, about a page of optional rules. And then we are into extended examples of play. As you are probably aware, I consider that totally mandatory in games nowadays. Now we've got some interesting things where we have like an alphanumeric factor on the units, so I'm curious to see how that works. It doesn't, I don't think this is a Victory in the West style random strength thing. Could be nuts. Okay, let's pull this out. All right, we get a player aid card with a sequence of play on one side, and a CRT and a TEC on the other side. See, this looks, table-wise, this looks very straightforward. Here's another TEC. German Core Combat Strength. Okay, so it looks like it is random unit strength, and I have a sense that you're actually randomizing it before each combat, which is an interesting design decision, and not one that I object to in this particular context. So that's interesting. A couple player aid cards. There's an Allied air bombardment table. And these are on a sort of somewhat shiny finish, pretty thick cardstock. Not super duper thick, but pretty thick. Allied invasion results, replacement tables. Okay, so this doesn't look super complicated. I mean, of course, as you've probably heard me say, the sheer length of the rulebook is not necessarily an indicator of how complicated the game is. Okay, so there's 2 maps on a pretty shiny and reasonably thick feeling stock. Looks like this is an older Compass map, and one of the there's a counter sheet and a half actually. One of the things that can happen with this particular stock is that the ink, the printing can get a little brittle along the seams. So here is a better, I think will give you a better sense of what the map looks like. And it is an attractive map. The hexes are a bit oversized, but the counters are a bit oversized as well. You may notice that there are landing zones in a variety of places, including southern France, northern Italy, and of course up here by Normandy, here at Pas de Calais, here in Brittany, here south of Saint Nazaire. So looks like there's a bunch of different places that the Allies can land at, which is another thing that I like about this, a game like this with this particular scope, is to explore the different strategic and operational options without necessarily weighing you down with a hugely detailed game. All right, so as I said, we have a counter sheet and a half. This is the older Compass game stock. It's on a, I would call this a medium weight white core stock. It's not exceptionally thin. Counter sheet's a little floppy, but you know, all the CSS stuff is on a similar counterweight, and I don't have a problem with any of that. The sheet feels a little floppy, but the counters, once clipped, are fine. And we can see, I'm not going to be able to identify all of the nationalities here, but here are the Italians, who presumably evaporate very quickly. Here are the British, which you can see the number of units is not that high here. A couple of cores of Free French. It's a core level game, except for the Soviets, of course, which are armies. Now, for those who don't know, that's not just a reflection that the Soviets had tons of manpower. In fact, Soviet armies are about the same number of men as corps in other armies, roughly. Soviet divisions were significantly smaller than, say, German divisions. So that's one reason why that's like that. We do have some Hungarians and Romanians over here. Counter art by Francois Vandermeulen and Michael Montfront. We have a few markers, not a lot, and some forts down here. A few Soviet markers as well. And we can see that we have guards armies, tank armies. Here's some Poles. Presumably these are the Soviet Polish army, the Soviet mobilized Polish armies. We have a few blank counters as well. The counters appear to be 5/8 inch counters. I'm going to say I think they're 9/16 inch counters, actually. Not quite 5/8. They're a little bit oversized, as are the hexes. So this has been a super brief look at sort of a last chance grab from Compass Games. I picked this up at the Compass Games Expo. Watch for the video on that if it's not out already. From 2021, Fall of the Third Reich from designer Ted Racer, and Compass Games, a 2017 release. Hopefully you found this intriguing. If so, please give it a thumbs up. Please do help support Ardwulf's Lair by checking out the links to the Patreon, the merch store, and the Ko-Fi in the video description. Until next time, thanks for watching and happy wargaming.